and welcome to Shut Up and Shimmy. This is episode 2. I am Kat Ross, your host, and today we actually have Shay Moore here of Deep Roots Dance. Amazing performer, director, producer, has the best dog in the world. Literally, we promised wouldn't make a sound, but it's all good.
She's going to be in on this whether we like it or not.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm more than happy to bring in at least a couple other guests along the way. Shay, it's a pleasure to actually get to sit down and talk with you a little bit more. I know last time we briefly met, hey, thanks for seeing you.
In passing.
Later, cool troop. See ya. I gotta go. But I'm so happy and pleased to get to just sit down and chat with you because, I've read, when I was first looking for classes, I was looking around South Sound, if you don't already know, and I was looking through and you're one of the first places that I found. So close. If it wasn't for the drive, man, I would have been...
It's a little far.
It's a little far for me for week by week, but I'm still very, very happy to interview you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, even if I'm a little late, it's all right. So I want to know, you have a very extensive dance history. I mean, really extensive. I would like to know a little bit more about that. I mean, you've been studying all around.
Yes. Oh, puppy.
Oh, that's the food.
It's my own fault for putting food right in puppy reach.
Well, let's put that back slightly.
Yeah, there we go. All right. Okay.
But it's by my face, so that means it's mine.
Dog level.
Mine.
Okay. Wow, that's a big question.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's all right. We'll start from the very beginning.
We'll have the rolling text and
Sing along, everybody.
Right, yeah.
So I was not interested in belly dance at all. I was in the SCA at the time, Society for Creative Anachronism. It's a medieval recreation group.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, it's the height of geekdom, let me tell you.
Do you still do that kind of stuff?
Not anymore. Not that I wouldn't, I just fell out of it and haven't been doing it anymore. I love the costuming, I love everything about it, but...
That explains the license plate out there.
Yes, I was a professional costumer.
I see. If you don't know the license plate in the back, not that I want you to track down. It's a cute little thing for costuming.
Yeah,
so.
It's an homage. So my exposure to dancers was basically, or people who called themselves belly dancers, let's say, were basically, ladies who just wanted to wear very little clothes and writhe around and get a lot of guys' attention. So basically the stereotypes that people sometimes come to belly dance with, I was fully that person. I really thought that's what belly dance was because I hadn't seen anything else. I had never been to a belly dance show.
Was this in California?
No, it was here.
It was here? Okay.
Yeah, here. So I had a friend who came to me one day, a very dear friend, and she basically hung her head in shame and said, I've been taking a belly dance class, and it's not what we thought it was, and I would really like you to come and try it with me. I'm kind of looking at her sidelong, what?
I'm judging you so hard right now.
So judging her. But had it been anybody else, I would have been, hell no, because it was her, somebody that I really trusted and loved. I agreed to go, and so I went to my very first belly dance class with Habib. I don't know if you know of Habib. She was a very prominent dancer here in Seattle for years. She's down in, I think, Sedona, Arizona now, but she's awesome. And it wasn't what I thought it was, and it was awesome, and I kept coming, and that's how I started. So I started in kind of cabaret fusion.
Okay.
She studied with Cassandra of Minneapolis, and she studied with Delilah, and so very, old school Egyptian, Oriental kind of stuff,
A big fringe monster beaded
Oh, yeah, you know it.
Yeah, I still love it.
And the hooked skirts with just the right amount of hip showing, all that. So that was my introduction to belly dance, and from there, I studied with Aleli, beautiful, fabulous Aleli, and that was really, kind of a Salampur school of dance kind of stuff, Jamila style stuff, old fake folkloric stuff, and Fat Chance Videos was how I started with tribal. Before anyone knew what tribal was, we had some ATS tattooed one, which is the quintessential tribal video.
The one.
It's the video that everyone fell in love with, And the same friend that brought me to dance, we would practice in her living room or in my living room.
Oh, that's such a wonderfully simple start.
Yeah.
I really like that because a lot of people, they kind of hate on videos generally.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what kind of video it is. It could be the best video, best instruction ever.
Mhm.
People just don't like the idea of videos. And I love to hear that people still find value
Oh, yeah.
in that kind of stuff, especially when they're unable to make those big trips to those instructors.
Right.
I love that.
Well, that's really what it was, though, too. You know, back in the late 90s when I started dancing, we had to walk uphill both ways to a VHS player, and that's how you got...
That dinosaur brought home the mail. Yeah, right.
That's how you got exposed to different teachers. Their workshop... now we're just so overrun with workshops. You have a hard time getting people to them because we're so... our attention is so divided by so many workshops, but there wasn't that. Ricasa was basically the only festival there was, and now there's festivals everywhere, and so video was really the only way for teachers to reach us and for us to access those teachers, and it was fabulous. And then Paulette started doing workshops in Seattle, and those were my first tribal workshops, and that was Gypsy Caravan style tribal belly dance, and that's when I was really hooked.
Suddenly we start carrying the glittery bags. Your bathroom looks like a mess.
Yeah.
The car's full of skirts that things have gone wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And you've transformed whoever it was. Yeah.
Yeah. And your life is consumed. In fact, I remember specifically, when I first started getting into the belly dance scene, I remember seeing all these women and all their friends were belly dancers. Like, all their social circle was belly dancers. And I was like, wow, that's really weird. Like, what happened to all their other friends? What happened? And here I am, my world is so belly dance centric. I'm hard pressed to find more than a handful of friends, like lifelong friends that I've had. But like all my new friends and all of my, rotating circle of friends is the belly dance world. Because once you're in, it's like the mafia, you're in the family now. But I have become that now.
That's amazing. So it really does consume you, and you just never really seem to leave once you've entered, it seems, which is great that you made the mafia reference, because I never thought of it that way, and I will use that from now on. But from that transition, were you moving over? Did you have any judgment from old friends, new friends? I know you were at least hesitant when you first started, like everybody is. Everybody thinks belly dance is some sort of exotic male attention-grabbing dance, right? Which it can be at times. Yeah. But did you have any, at least, pullback from family or friends from that kind of...
I really expected my mom to have a problem with it. My mom, very conservative woman, worldly, but very conservative.
Right.
And I remember when I told her that I was, belly dancing now, her response was, "Is that the ka-ching ka-ching dance?" And I thought she meant like the money, ka-ching ka-ching. I was thinking, oh, she's thinking about the money stuffed in the bra. Of course she's going to go right there.
Right, yeah.
And I was like, no, Mom, what do you mean, ka-ching ka-ching? And she's like, the little things they wear on their fingers, ka-ching ka-ching. She meant finger symbols.
Oh, that's so cute.
And she was totally not judging at all. She thought it was awesome. And started telling all her friends that her daughter was a belly dancer, and she thought it was so cool. And she prominently displayed a photo.
The food is out.
I know. I'm just going to feed her slowly while we're talking.
Yeah, poor sweeties. Look at that sad face.
Oh, you're starving.
You're so unloved and hated, I can tell. Oh, gosh. Yeah. I wish I need to take a picture of her before we get out. She's too cute.
There you go, baby.
That's really good to hear, too, because, you hear different kind of origin stories from people with belly dance, and you have some people where their families really didn't take it well, and others that you just have this wonderful opening, at least of communication. Yeah. Belly dance makes it so things are not as tense between families. I mean, at least honestly, with my family, I was terrified to tell them what I was doing. Wow. And by telling them, I actually got them more involved in my life because they accepted it, they thought it was interesting, and now we're a lot closer than we would ever been. Which is a really odd reaction to tell them that you wear a bra and a belt on the weekends. Right? Yeah. Well, here's what I do. And so I don't know, that's really, I like hearing that family. Oh, yeah. Well.
And she totally got into it. She's hired me for performances she throws yard parties every year, hired us to perform at parties and teach a workshop to her friends, and she came to MedFest every year. She hasn't been in a couple years, but always come to MedFest to see the performances.
Supportive mommies.
Super cool.
Supportive mommies.
Yeah.
So you got in from the DVDs. And
DVDs. Yeah, and then just started doing workshops with Paulette. She somebody was hosting her monthly, so I got 2 to 3 hours once a month of my fix, and was still taking classes with Aleli, and still taking with a regular teacher. But tribal was really what I wanted to be doing, and there was nobody here teaching it. Mm-hmm. So after a while with Paulette, and I actually started doing costuming for her troupe for Gypsy Caravan at the time, and I was reselling her videos kind of on the side. And one day I was on the phone with her, and I said, hey, you have this awesome community down in Portland surrounding tribal belly dance, and every time I come down there, it's so amazing, and I really want something like that in Seattle, and will you teach me to teach so that I can start building that here? And she said, actually, I'm starting to develop a teacher training program, and I'm looking for a guinea pig. And
I'll totally be that guinea pig.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I drove to Portland once a week for 8 weeks.
Wow.
And did basically 3 hours of privates with her, and then I would take every class that they had. They had 3 additional hours of classes that day, and then would drive back to Seattle. Sometimes it was on a day we had troop rehearsal, and I'd get back to Seattle and go straight to troop rehearsal. I was young and virile.
You heard it here, folks. If you are actually serious about what you're doing, it is possible to fit all of that time in your day.
Tacoma sounds far.
yeah, right. Portland. I'm such a whiner. Right?
But you don't have to make that choice. You have teachers on your doorstep.
It's totally different now. Yeah,
it's very different now. So that was really the only way I could access her, and so I did, and it was great. And I started teaching, and I haven't looked back.
That's an incredible. I like that journey. I really love it. It always seems like the journey, almost for everybody, starts with, there's this weird thing that I kind of want to do. I guess I'll try it. I don't know what it is. And then it just becomes this strange addiction. After 2 weeks.
It sneaks up on you. It really does. I always tell people, if you'd told me, 15 years ago now, that I was going to be a belly dance teacher as a profession, and a belly dance performer as a profession, I would have laughed in your face.
Oh, yeah.
In your face. Because it was inconceivable to me at the time. Now it's kind of inconceivable that I would be doing anything else.
I would be surprised to see you anywhere else, especially hearing a lot of your origin story and how things came about. Mm-hmm. Now, that's a big jump from going from student, hobbyist, if you will, to teaching. Mm-hmm. With creating your studio up here, how was that progress? How'd that go that you eventually kind of moved it back up here and then made that into its own little community?
Mm-hmm. It's gradual, and it's not like I planned an empire or anything, all I wanted was people to dance with. I wanted, like I said, I wanted what Paulette had. She was so good at nurturing community and bringing people together, and I love hosting people. If you can't tell already, I really love bringing people into my home or into my space and making them feel welcome. And tribal belly dance for me is about that among the dancers, but also the audience. It's about welcoming them in and including them in this kind of bigger family feel. And so I just put the ads up and hoped people would show up and want to dance with me.
Please come dance.
Yeah. And so, for the first year or so, it was typical to have maybe 2 or 3 people show up. I never showed up to an empty room, thank God. But
that's the day that you break when no one shows.
Your heart just would crumble.
Yeah.
2 or 3 for a long time because people didn't know what it was, and who was I? I was nobody, And then it grew, and then I did another level of teacher training with Paulette, driving to Portland again to do...
You did it again,
Crazy. I did. Well, I wanted the intermediate training because I trained to become a beginner 1 and 2 teacher, and she had beginner 1 and 2, intermediate 1 and 2, and advanced. And I went up to intermediate 1 and 2 before I stopped training formally with her as a teacher. So, and then it just grew.
Just grew by time. That's wonderful. That's especially for newer teachers coming in. That the days where there's 1 or 2 students in the class, you're like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Yeah. Just keep going is what it sounds
you got to put it in the oven for a little while, to let it cook.
Let it cook for a long time.
You do. And everyone wants to work from a place of abundance and imagine that there's enough students for everyone and there's no competition, and that's a very beautiful thought. But it is harder now than it used to be. I used to be the only tribal teacher in town for a long time, and then more moved into the area, and then more trained and started their own classes. And lately I've been in a lot of conversations about marketing yourself and how do you get people to come to your classes when there's 7 other classes, even in the same style. Now that I do American Tribal Style as my base, there's at least 4, maybe 5 other teachers within a 30-minute drive of here. And why would they want to take from me? So I have to sell me. What makes me special?
I'll bring wine and cheese every day.
Every day.
Won't know what we're doing anymore. We'll just drink. It's great.
Oh, man. We used to have classes like that.
I walked into this is such a foreign idea for me, but I walked into it's slightly off subject, but I walked into like a consignments shop.
Mm-hmm.
All of the people working there were drinking wine.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was the smartest idea.
Like, this is the best job ever.
I was like, maybe I should just drop this whole dance thing and just work at this consignment shop. I thought that was such a wild idea. I don't know. That came up to mind again.
Well, we used to have a rotating instructor forum called Goddess Squad, which I helped organize for years. I was not the founder of it, but I helped another woman take it over and organize it later. And it was an hour-and-a-half class, and there was a different teacher usually every month or every 2 months sometimes. So you got to take from lots of different teachers. And at the end of class, there'd be a giant, like a magnum of wine or whatever, the big bottle of wine. And people would bring snacks and cheese, and after class we'd drink wine and eat snacks. And
that's the community I want to be part of.
So it was social as well as the wonderful trappings of dance.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially with tribal dance, because that's not something that I've dabbled in but have never gotten any farther in.
Mm-hmm.
I love the sense of community just within the dance. I like watching tribal dance because I feel it's so special each performance.
Yeah.
Because you see the emotions and the feelings between the group, whoever's dancing. It could be 2 people, it could be 3, it could be like 20. I don't care. There's something individual, and the eye contact is what has me most mesmerized by tribal dance.
Mm-hmm.
You could talk a little bit more about that, and at least what the feeling is, at least, because I clearly don't do that. I dance, it's only me.
You have totally struck on what I love about tribal the most, and I remember the way Paulette put it was that when you dance tribal, you have to really see each other. And, of course, she doesn't just mean the actual physical seeing of, but...
But people blindfold, too.
Yeah, you have to rely on each other. You have to connect with other people in order for it to work. So I love choreography very much. I love choreographing. Sorry, puppy, stop begging for food. But improvisationally, you have to be so in the moment. You have to let everything out of your brain but this dance and this moment and these people and what you're creating right then and there. I remember I grew up with other dance styles. If you learned a choreography really well, you could be doing math in your head if you wanted to, and your body would just do the choreography, right? Tribal, you can't ever check out. There's no opportunity to check out, and you have to constantly be on the ball. And you're also supported in that same moment. So I've never been much of a soloist, so I watch dancers like you, and I'm just amazed. That's a whole skill in itself, too, holding an audience's attention with just yourself. I'm impressed by dancers like you that do that on a regular basis. That's amazing. I have the power of other people backing me up all the time.
It's nice to have a posse.
It's a safe space. It really is. And it creates a very different energy, like you said. You see them seeing each other. You see them connecting with each other. Audiences get that. They get that something unique is happening. Even if they don't know what or how or why, they know something different is happening when they see tribal.
It reminds me of theater. You can see the same play 20 times, but you're going to get a different show each time. And, even, say if you guys are doing improv, it's doing the same thing. It just seems so special. I like the specialness of it.
You got to try it.
Oh, I know.
I can't believe you haven't tried it.
Oh, like I said, I used to take a little bit of classes for a while, and then financially it was like, this can't happen anymore. So I had to check out, and then of course life happens. You all know how that happens.
Yeah.
But I do. Trust me. It's within interest. I'm a big fan of not just staying in one spot. Of course, if you find the thing that you love, please
Sure.
Of course, but like I want to expand. I want
And why
everybody to
not?
expand? You know, try a little cabaret, try a little fusion.
Well-rounded dancers are the most
Samba,
interesting dancers.
Right, because they can bring something different no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
But with that,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of there's always the age-old conversation of cabaret versus tribal. It always comes up no matter what. It's something as silly as, well, I don't like her hip scarf. Well, it's not a true hip scarf.
Oh boy!
I love the conversations because it's one of those where you just sit back, take out your popcorn, and just watch the show, if you will.
Right.
I would love to hear at least some of your thoughts about that, both negative and positive.
About the difference between cabaret and tribal.
This is the difference. Just like a lot of people there's purists.
Sure.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
On both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And of course there's the people who are kind of like myself, like, it's whatever.
Yeah.
It's dance, it's whatever. I would like to know at least your personal opinions and thoughts on that.
Sure. So I think there's room for everybody, for one. I think it's important that there be people who preserve the history, that they preserve the, quote, pure forms, whatever that means. You know, there's none of it's truly pure, but there's certainly purer forms, one's closer to the source, if you will. And I think it's great, and I respect and honor the people who've had that as their calling. It's just not everybody's calling. And I think in an ideal world, everyone who chose to fuse or innovate or evolve the dance was doing it from a full understanding of the source material. And unfortunately, that doesn't happen. And as media moves faster and faster and faster, there's so many things competing for our attention. It's hard to really settle down and say, okay, I got to go back to the source. I got to go back to the root. Why? When you can be, it's kind of a fast food smorgasbord of so many things. And why would I do that?
Drive through, get some trouble.
It really is that way, especially, with YouTube and all the availability of belly dance inspirations and video and media and music and puppy dogs.
The sweetest puppy.
she's trying to interrupt everything.
Oh, it's so good. I'm just changing something. No worries.
Okay.
There we go.
I don't blame people for kind of missing that step, but I wish more people would take that step of reaching back to the root a little more, of using that as their jumping off point, which means absolutely fuse, but know what you're fusing and why you're fusing, right? And think about why those things go together. So, for instance, some fusion that rubs me the wrong way, I guess, is when I feel like they're just jumping back and forth from A dance style and B dance style. It's not a true fusion. They're doing some moves of this, and then they do some moves of that, and some moves of this, and some moves of that. And I think it's because they haven't really taken the time to think about what are the commonalities between these two different styles, and how can I make them a little more seamless? What makes these two want to live together beautifully on stage? They're like, no, I like this dance style, and I like this dance style, so I'm just going to do them both.
Can't decide what I want, so I'm just going to do it at the same time.
And if you want to fuse that style, by all means, fuse Irish step dancing with belly dance if you want to.
Stuff,
there is some weird stuff out there.
Where did you come up with that?
But do the work to think about, to really honor both of those dance styles and where they intersect. Don't just do some of this and some of that, right? That's the kind of fusion I don't love. The kind of fusion that I love is when I'm seeing two dance styles I've seen before, and I had no idea that they had these common threads woven through the two of them until somebody showed me by putting them together so beautifully.
Isn't that great?
That is when a fusion is very exciting to me. And usually it's because they've gone back to the source of both of these styles. They've gone to the root of it before building it into a fusion.
They have an idea where they're coming from, basically.
Yeah.
Know your roots, if you will. Right?
Yeah, ideally. But like I said, I don't blame people for kind of skipping that step because I'm not saying they're lazy when I say it's easy. Mm-hmm. It's just easy, and it's easier to just do what you feel.
No, coming from the lady who used to drive a billion miles and then work her butt off taking classes every week.
But I'm also the girl who came from all those misconceptions about belly dance, where what I saw was not belly dance, but somebody was calling it belly dance. And I could have been lost as an audience member. I could have been lost as a student. I could have been lost as a fan, as an advocate of dance, had my friend not, got me into a class, because it was being misrepresented to me so regularly. So I think that part of my past is what makes me such a strong advocate for representing belly dance as beautifully as possible, as respectfully as possible, and as honestly as possible. I don't want to lose those people. I don't want them to miss out on what I was very excited. My life was changed because I found belly dance. And I would hate for other people to never find it because they never understood it.
It's that fear. It's like a baby. You want to show people this wonderful baby, this child that you've been working on for so long and caring for, but you're so scared that they're going to misrepresent it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're terrified.
Yeah, but you got to let them out in the world.
But you got to let them out and just say, you know what, it's going to happen as it happens. Hopefully people understand what I'm trying to communicate, but if they don't, then move on and try again.
Yeah, take a deep breath, just like that.
Yeah. So I've had a couple friends, at least, approach me and, ask if I was stripping or all this kind of stuff.
Sure.
And almost everybody gets it. No matter what style you do, it seems like everybody always gets that misconception, personally. Which still kind of blows my mind.
Well, we're on this side of it now. We're on this side of it, and we see it everywhere, But to them, it's a subculture that they don't even know exists.
It's like opening up my Facebook, all you see is just
that's all
belly dance, right? It's like, oh, this is normal. This is what
the whole world is belly dance now.
Weird. It's just, I guess I just changed it overnight. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're on the other side of the veil, as it were.
Oh, all right. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Interesting. One thing that, with your student troupe that you do, I got to see them recently perform, which I really, really enjoyed.
Thank you.
With your student troupe and bringing up new students, I find a lot of, there's a couple types of students, right? There's ones that are interested, mostly. They might find something else in their life, but they're enjoying it for the time. There's the hardcore, dedicated students, and then, of course, there's the other students who show up for one time and just take off.
Sure.
With the students who are insanely interested and who really want to continue that path.
Super motivated.
Do you do any mentoring or anything like that for those types of students? I'm sure you do. What's your process with that?
That's a really good question. So right now, my student troupe are people who have shown aptitude in the classroom, as you say, shown dedication. They're there every week, and nobody was dangling any carrots for them. That was totally their own motivation and their own reasons for being there. And it's an invitation-only situation. And it's a small group right now. So we have 4 people. We actually have 5, but one just had a baby not that long ago. So yeah, baby fan, Arya. So the mentoring, I guess, is that kind of in rehearsals we have such close contact, and they have closer access and regular access to me because we email outside of class and we're working, in our rehearsal time. And beyond that, it's usually people who want like private lessons or have a specific goal in mind. So I have one student who actually one day wants to teach.
Wonderful.
And is very interested in learning how my style is different from ATS because it isn't pure ATS, and she's really putting in the time and asking the tough questions, which I love. Oh my God, I love it. Students ask questions. Can I just say that? Dear world.
Just write your letter to the world.
Yeah, and if you have a teacher that doesn't like questions, then get another teacher.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because, that's the wrong teacher for you.
We'll get to that in just a moment.
All right.
Bring it up. But I don't know, I like when I see that teachers spend that time, and you can really tell they spend the time with that student because it just shows they care.
Yeah.
It's, there's the type of teacher who comes in, teaches the class, and then you just you feel like you're so distant from that instructor. And you want to learn, you want to cuddle under their wing and then hope for something, but they just necessarily don't receive that for whatever reason.
Some teachers...
I can tell you're not that type of teacher.
No.
That's all.
Yeah.
Let's talk about everything and cuddle in and...
Totally. I want that personal relationship. And I tell my students on the very first night of class that for me, teaching is not a speech, it's a conversation. So I don't want to get in front of a classroom and just deliver, rules from on high and then leave the room and hope that they have fun with that. I feel like them asking questions and us interacting in and outside of the classroom makes me a better teacher because I know what they need and what they want and what they're thinking, and I can adapt my teaching based on their needs. But obviously makes their experience better because they're not just scratching their heads going, I guess whatever she said, I should do that, I don't understand. They're asking questions and they're participating in their own learning process. And I think they come along faster, better, and have a deeper understanding of the material because they're also driving the class. They're driving how the material is presented through their questions.
Fantastic. Do you have any recommendations for students besides find a teacher that can ask questions?
So one of my favorite things that Carolina has ever said, Carolina Naricchio, who is the creator of American Tribal Style Belly Dance, I remember when I took my general skills class or workshop from her down in Atlanta, the first thing she said was, and it sounded very stark at the time, but give me a second to explain. She says, "You can ask me questions, but don't question me."
Fascinating.
Yeah, and when it's delivered from Carolina, the almighty Carolina, the world stops moving for just a second. You're like, whoa, heavy, man.
Yeah. Whoa.
But when you think on it for a second, I totally got what she meant, is that there is a way to respectfully ask questions and ask for greater detail on something, and it's another to say, well, my other teacher said nah, or I don't think, blah, blah, blah. That's not the venue to have those kinds of conversations.
No. They never end well for anybody,
right?
really.
So ask questions, but don't question them. So be respectful in your questioning of your teacher. Be persistent in your asking of questions with your teacher, but don't question them. Don't challenge them. Don't put them in a position to defend their choices artistically or otherwise. When you're in their classroom, you do it their way, and you just want to understand their way better. That's how your question should be framed.
Wonderful. I like that a lot better.
Yeah.
Because you always get the one student who's like, well.
Oh, boy.
Gives the finger, and they have their hand on their hip, and they're already winding up for whatever they're going to throw at you.
They're tough.
You've been a workshop instructor for a while. You've done a lot of really high-name festivals, Tribal Fest. You did Q's and Tattoos?
Did you
do that
this several years. I got to do it again this year, yeah.
That's what I thought.
Super fun.
With workshop teaching, it's totally a different environment because you're coming in, you're going to do like a one-hit wonder kind of deal, right? And moving on. How does that change your style of teaching at all?
Absolutely.
Tell me about it.
So the difference between workshops and weekly classes for me, weekly classes are about the depth of the information. And we're usually presenting a concept or two, maybe, and going into great detail, into great depth, breaking it down, drilling it lots of different ways, putting it under a microscope, if you will. Those students are going to see me every week, ideally, and so they're going to get the volume over time, and they get the depth now. Workshop is totally the opposite. A lot of those people may never get to take a workshop from me again. It's maybe their one chance or very infrequently. And so I think it's more important to give them a volume of information and go in a less depth and let them take that information home and practice on their own time. Because if you had 2 hours of workshop and all you did was drill 3 moves...
Oh, I'd be so mad.
Yeah.
I'd be so mad.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good. So I basically tell, when I have a workshop, I tell them, we're going to run over a lot of stuff right now, and you're not going to come away with everything that I teach today. There's just no way. Your brain's going to hit a point, where you're not going to be able to absorb anymore. So latch on to a few things that you really want to take away from this, and let the other stuff go. Because if you try and retain it all, it's a futile effort.
Yeah. Good luck at trying to write that down after you.
Yeah. But I only have, I say I only have you for this long, and I want to give you as much as I can while we're here together. So it's usually more, a 2-hour workshop will usually have 4 or 5 concepts rather than 1 or 2.
Wonderful. Yeah. I would love to know your first workshop teaching experience.
Oh.
Because that's always such an either sad kind of story, or it's a really wonderful. I don't know if that was very memorable.
Remember. Apparently not, because I don't remember for sure.
Yeah.
I know I did a Hassani's Hafla very early on, and that was awesome because Hassani is like the goddess of all dance in this area, and everybody loves her, and her Haflas are like, you know, the pinnacle.
She
for
cracks
us.
me up.
Yeah.
She's one of those people that reminds me that it's okay to be funny when you dance.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot, personally at least. But.
Yeah. She's incredible, and that it was a big honor for me when she asked me to do that. But I don't feel like that was the first one. I know my first Tribal Fest workshop was humbling.
Ooh, that's
humbling.
good. That's good.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
So it was the third year of Tribal Fest, I think, is when I taught my first workshop there. And big, I mean, back then, back in the olden times of 2003 or whatever.
I was going to say, so far back, like a couple years, not that far.
Well, things change fast, you
I know.
It was just on the weekend, and, you know, there were maybe 4 or 5 teachers. So now they have, like, 25 teachers over 5 days.
It's insane.
It's really
how that's
huge
grown.
now. But back then, to be among those teachers was a very limited pool, and so the pressure felt much higher. And I had so much fun, so much fun, and the students were amazing. And I remember just feeling like I had reached a new level in my teaching. Yeah. Like I'd arrived somehow.
Achievement unlocked. New level of teaching that I'm.
Where's my badge?
Yeah, I want a badge. I want something for this moment. And I don't use you anything. Like,
yeah. Yeah, that was awesome.
Wonderful. It's cool to hear about those opportunities that come up and people just excelling. I mean, clearly you excelled from that, right? You're doing
I think so. I think
way
you're okay.
Better. Yeah. You're doing good for yourself. But wonderful, wonderful. With this dance community, you get a lot of different people. You get a lot of different things that fuse and merge, at least, and from people from different areas.
Sure.
You talked a little bit earlier about the competition in the area.
Yeah.
How have you, what's the one thing that at least you try to make yourself sound different from others? Because you're talking about self-marketing, which we all have to do. Facebook has made things so different, which is mind-blowing to me. What would you say would be the one thing that would make you the different of the ATS teachers in the area?
Good question.
Besides the wine and cheese.
Good question. That helps. Bribery helps.
Bribery totally helps.
So that's a very, very good question. I think my training, my history in the dance is one of my biggest selling points, that I've been doing this longer than a lot of other people have, and have explored a lot of different styles. And like I said, I'm not strict ATS. And for some people, that's an anti-selling point. Some people really want strict ATS. And
the purists, man.
They are. And it's a beautiful dance form all by itself. And there's a lot of material there. God bless them. But I came from a Gypsy Caravan background originally and then moved into ATS later. And I was not willing to give up some of the Gypsy Caravan stuff that I loved, that I felt was still appropriate to fuse with ATS, if you will, to use in that format. And as I said, I enjoy choreography. I enjoy creating movement. I enjoy self-generating, ideas. And I didn't like the idea of taking a format whole and complete from somebody else, and I would say feel restricted by that. Some people don't, but for me personally, that felt like a barrier to what brings me creative joy. So I very gratefully and joyfully use a lot of the ATS vocabulary. Some of it I don't, because it doesn't jive with me personally. Right. And then I have some of my own stuff that I've created with my former troupe, with Infusion back in the day, and some that I've created since, and that brings me joy to still be able to self-generate some creative ideas for the dance and not feel like I have any limitation on that.
So what have you got going on next? What's the next big thing? What's the next big Shay Moore thing?
Oh my gosh!
Because everybody always has that one thing that they're planning.
Yeah.
Or working on, always.
Okay, so you want to know my big picture?
The big picture.
Okay, so before there was ATS in my life, before there was truly full-on tribal in my life, like I said, I studied with Aleli, and she danced with Yaleo down in California. And through this lineage, I came to learn of the Salampur legacy, and I learned of Balanat, and loved Balanat. I loved the whole Ren Fair scene, which was basically cabaret and fake folklore stuff at the time, but dressed up the way I would love to dress, you know.
All about the costume.
Oh my gosh, seriously.
It's like the dance is cool, but look at her costume.
Yes.
Yeah. What's she wearing?
Very important.
Oh God, I love that.
Very important. But they had live musicians, and they themselves played instruments and sang and played drums, and it was kind of a whole approach to the dance, and not just dance itself, but everything about it. And I always said that someday I would really love to develop a stage experience that's similar to Balinat. I don't want to be a copy of Balinat. I don't want to be derivative of Balinat. But I love the idea of having dancers who can also sing and who can play instruments, or, you know, fuse other kind of vaudevillian type stuff into the show. And that's my big dream. So the first step that we're taking this year is we have been taking drumming classes. My students have been taking drumming classes. And so our hope is that, fingers crossed, that at MedFest this year we're actually going to drum for each other when we dance on stage.
That would be wonderful, and such a lovely, refreshing change. So the dancer troupe, format that goes on at every event.
Yeah.
Nothing new.
And we've been really lucky to have Jane Hall has been teaching the drumming classes with House of Tarab, and she's awesome. We just love her. And I'm actually meeting with her tomorrow to talk about this little drum and finger cymbal dance choreography that we want to put in to the show. And I'm hoping that that's a first step toward my grand vision.
Your grand dream. That sounds wonderful. One thing I was actually watched Adesanya Taflo, the most recent one. You know, you sit down, you watch all the dancers, and everybody's lovely, but one true performance caught my eye, and it's because they did a show. They didn't do a performance, they did a show. You know, you saw, it was a group of 4, and they each did their own little performance, and then they did, like, something together, and they had entrances and exits.
Oh, that's great.
And it was something so wonderful about it.
Who was it?
It's Bahar.
Oh, Bahar, they're great.
Yes. And I'm like, I just love the format of this. I love the show format. I think we are missing that again, and I'm so happy to hear that somebody else agrees and is working on it for me. So I don't have to do the work, because that's great. I like when other people do stuff I like, because then I don't have to participate. I can just enjoy it and clap and get my money.
Well,
I like it.
Yeah, and I really relate. You were talking about not wanting to stay still too long, and I think there's so many things I want to do in this dance, and if I just did, ATS, if I just did tribal, if I just did choreography, if I just did this thing, I would feel like I was missing out on so many other beautiful flavors. And I don't want to be a jack of all trades and a master of none. So there's that careful line that I have to tread as well, where I don't want to take on so much that I don't give enough to any one thing, right? But I'm hoping that through training up my dancers to be more versatile performers, just in general performers, not just dancers, but in their stagecraft, and that we can develop more collaborative relationships with other performers in the community, so that we could put together shows where, somebody like you, if you really loved what we were doing, and say, hey, we'd really love a soloist to be in the middle of our show this weekend, do you want to come and do a 4-minute piece as part of this thing that we're doing?
That's just cool.
It'd be so fun.
I mean, there's no other way to put it. That's just cool. I mean, that's such a terribly undescriptive word, but I like to hear that people are thinking of the bigger picture of things, that people are thinking of what this looks like as to an audience perspective. And I'm happy to hear that you're thinking of things in a bigger picture than, oh, we got to do this choreography because we're going to dance. Well, why are you dancing? Because we're dancing. No. Why are you dancing? Are you dancing for entertainers? Okay, then you should be entertaining, right? Oh, yeah, totally, yeah. I think that's completely missed. And I'm just very happy.
And it's because it's not taught that often. That's where the breakdown is. We talked a little bit earlier about good and bad instructors and whatnot, and I think some of the trouble instructors are the ones who say, oh, do whatever you feel and follow the bouncing butt, and then, like you said, the relationship kind of stops there, and, the mentoring and the nurturing them as members of a community and as a performer with a responsibility to their audience, they don't go anywhere beyond a collection of moves that you shove together to some music. And it's got to be more than that to be successful. It's got to be more.
Good. With entertainment of the audience.
Yeah.
I've had this conversation with like a billion people because it's so interesting, and it, like, a certain side of the conversation always boggles my mind because I just don't understand it. I come from a background of, like, theater stuff. So,
Me too.
Like, thank you. Yes! The people. I come from a background of theater stuff, and it's about, you're living a moment. It's so important, you know, and you need to be feeling this thing, but are they interested in watching it?
Mm-hmm.
With belly dance, because I think that belly dance, one thing that I think can be agreed upon by everybody is belly dance is for people. It's for people to watch and be entertained by. Yes, it has like self-healing properties, and, you know, and it's good for you and it's good for your soul and things like that. But first and foremost, if it's being done in front of people, it's for people.
Yes.
Interested to hear a little bit more about that from you, about the entertainment aspect of it, of people who just don't seem to get that it's for it's for the stage, it's for people to watch and be entertained by.
Right. I think there's room for everybody, and you have to consider the context of what you're doing. So one of the reasons why I throw my performers salons, and why in the past I've had open dance events and things like that, is because one of the beautiful things about our dance style is it can also just be a social dance, and it doesn't have to be for entertainment. And I think teaching it purely as a performance style is also failing our students. We have to let them know that whatever direction they want to go, they have options, but they need to be thoughtful about which path they take and how they treat that path. So if you just want a social dance, if you just want to get up and do what you feel that, you know, and therapy and all the things that people get from this dance, then the stage is not for you. That is social dance, and that is, you should seek drumming circles, and you should go do, you know, hafla
Let
open
me
dance
prescribe you a
stuff.
hafla. And, and here, no,
I love that.
Dr. Shay's in. We're just going to prescribe you a drum circle, some haflas.
Call me in the morning.
Yeah, and then give me a call and see how you feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's an important, vital part of the dance experience. And I think I wish we had more of that. I wish we had more non-stage opportunities for people in our community to dance. Because especially in Seattle, I'm seeing a greater proliferation of hafla as gig at a restaurant.
Yes.
And that's not what hafla used to mean. Hafla used to mean dancing for each other, among each other, some hummus and some schmoozing, you know. And so having very bare new student dancers performing was no thing, because we're not misrepresenting the dance. We're not putting something out there that's not ready to be entertainment. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing more and more of these student level, you know, no vetting of any sort of the skill level or content of the material being put up there under the banner of belly dance. And we're charging cover for people to come and watch it too, which is even worse. So I would really love to see more teachers, producers, what have you, create opportunities that are non-entertainment, non-performance based dance opportunities.
Correct.
Okay, so then the other side of that, of course, is the actual performance and entertainment. And I think that producers and teachers should be more discerning about what they're putting on stage and not just have sign-up sheets for that. I think we should be looking at the quality and content of what we're putting out there under the name of belly dance, and what we're actually selling people. If we are charging a cover or expecting them to tip, or if any money is exchanging hands, you know, I hate to make money sound like it's the end-all be-all of whether a show is good or not.
Yeah.
That's not what I mean, but if you're going to sell somebody something, make sure that you're selling them what the packaging says, and make sure that it's of a quality that is worthy of your name and the name of the community that you're representing.
I like that. Yeah. Time and place.
Yeah.
It's always something that I subscribe to.
Yeah.
Though I do, like, some themed funny dances that are meant for dancers only. Mm-hmm. I don't do those out in public. I do like small little haflas.
Right.
Where they're...
Put your camp skits in camp.
Exactly. Yes,
you don't put it on Broadway.
It's not meant for Broadway.
Yeah.
But I like that idea, because it does have room for everybody. Because there is a time and place to do the funny stuff, to do the, you know, the things that maybe only a couple people will get, or the experimentation.
Exactly. The stuff that isn't quite ready yet, or polished, or something really different than something you're doing before. You don't know how it's going to turn out.
Right.
But again, I don't blame anybody. I'm not angry or resentful of anybody for these.
Yeah, she's here with furrowed brows, just like getting all tense.
They're not being presented with other opportunities to dance. So of course these students are going to go wherever they can. They need to get it out somewhere, you know what I mean? And if we as, you know, kind of the mamas and the mentors and the teachers in the community aren't providing these opportunities for them, then we also can't blame them if they're going to create their own opportunities or maybe make choices that are not, in our opinion, ideal representations of dance out there because they don't have another choice.
I like that you point the finger in the right direction.
Yeah.
I'm not pointing a finger at anybody, I shouldn't say that, but it really is the responsibility of the show makers to say the yes or the no.
Yeah.
Whether it's maybe hurtful in some cases to say yes or no.
Well, and that's the thing, right?
Say no. No one ever wants to.
Nobody wants to be the bad guy. In a community of women, it's so easy to be, oh, you're just jealous. Oh, she's a bitch. Oh, she's, you know, when really you're just trying to put on a good show and you're being honest with people. And why can't we talk to each other like adults and be honest?
Yeah.
You can't. You tread a very, very careful line.
Those are two, being told that you're not good at something that you're really passionate about. Not necessarily not good, just not right for...
Not right for that show.
Not right for that show. I mean, everybody's gotten a no.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's gotten a no.
But, you know, you come from a theater background and I come from a theater background, and that's a fact of life that I grew up with, was you audition for the part and you get more no's than yeses, and it's not a reflection necessarily of you or what you're doing. It's the vision of the person who's creating the show, and you can't take that super personally. Of course, you take it somewhat personally. You're going to cry over some parts that you really wanted or some shows you really wanted to be in, but ultimately... You don't, take your toys and go home because somebody said you couldn't be in that play or that show.
Right.
And we have a thick skin because we've been through that and we know what that means. But people in the belly dance community are not theater people. They're not show people. A lot of them never came to any kind of performance until they were adults. And they have no skin, thick or otherwise, protecting themselves from being hurt by otherwise practical and... totally legitimate opinions of producers.
Yeah, once auditioning for Romeo and Juliet, wanting the part of Juliet, I then got the prince. Yeah, it definitely makes you really rethink everything you've been trying for, and your ego takes a big old drop right down. That's great that you wanted the 14-year-old girl part. You look more like a guy. So we're going to make you do the prince role, and even better, we're going to put you in purple.
Oh, boy.
So we're just going to make all kinds of connections for a tall white girl to make no sense. It was terrible. Long story. But
was it terrible?
It was really terrible.
Oh.
It was one of those community performances that you really, really regret doing.
Yeah.
Like, you're thankful that you did it because it took a big hit to your ego in a great way, but you're really upset that there's a recording and it's out there somewhere. And you really hope that no one finds it. Please, no one Google anything.
You too.
Yeah, everybody. An idiot. Either way, I'm very happy that you have a very well-rounded view of things. And I'm glad that you're calling for a thicker skin within dancers. And I think that is the responsibility of the producers, of the teachers, of the mentors. Why are you licking my leg? Am I tasty?
You taste like snakes.
I taste like snakes. I just gave my boa a bath today, so I don't know what he smells like other than water right now.
Puppy, come on.
Oh, it's fine.
Be appropriate. Be appropriate.
If you lick my leg, I'm okay. I've had all kinds of animals, so you get licked and bumped and kicked and bitten. Well, it's all the same. Either way.
Yeah.
If somebody was extremely interested in finding out where you were, how to reach you, how to get more information about you, where would they go?
DeepRootsDance.com.
DeepRootsDance.com, which I found is actually built for mobile today. I was
Yes.
looking it up, and I went, oh, wonderful. She thinks about things ahead of
I
time.
also do web and graphic design, as it turns
Oh,
out. That page is designed by moi.
So that's also something you do currently still. Perfect.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for any sort of web design or design or graphics, you're also a great person.
I specialize in artists and giving them pages they can update themselves so that they don't have to have a webmaster around to do the work
Do you do
for them.
WordPress stuff?
I do it on Blogger, actually.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't love WordPress. It needs updates too often, has security holes all over the place, and
I use WordPress. That's okay.
I use WordPress too, but I don't like it. I don't like it for my clients if they're totally don't know what they're doing. I'd rather Blogger.
which is 90% of anybody who wants a website.
It
is
is.
asking somebody for a website.
Is. And that's owned by Google, so it's super secure and super easy and integrates with everything that you want. This is not an ad for a blogger.
I was going to say,
I'm
if
sorry.
I want a sponsor, then I can just go and get a blogger and just keep this in, and I'll be so happy.
No, Blogger's great.
So deeprootsdance.com.
Deeprootsdance.com. There's, and even if you're not a student of me, or if you're not in Seattle and you're listening from another city or state, I have a student resource center that's not like password protected or anything. It's there for everyone to check out. In the menu, you'll see the words Student Resource Center, and you can go there. And I have it broken out by music and costuming and history, and you'll see all the different topics and click through. And I've collected articles and links and videos and stuff, so you can go and kind of educate yourself a little bit on the things that I think are awesome and important for dancers to know. And you can check that out.
Wonderful. And you have classes weekly as well, and that takes place at what?
In North Seattle. So I teach in 2 locations in North Seattle, Finney Ridge area and the Roosevelt area. And I also teach, I don't just teach ATS, I also teach old school belly dance, which is roughly based on the Jamila Salimpour style of belly dance, so Balinat style stuff. I'm not certified to teach it officially, I just want to say that.
Don't knock yourself down.
There is a full training program, and I have not had an opportunity to do it. I have a foot issue that needs surgery, and I haven't been able to go down and do my training, which
Come on now.
I really hope to do, because it's awesome. She's incredible.
Right.
I did take the level 1 week long, and it was life-changing. It was awesome. So I teach that, and that is finger cymbals and dance movement class. So it's
I love
dancing and playing. It's so fun. I love teaching it, and it's a great way for me to break out of my usual improv stuff that I've been doing for 14 years or whatever now. And we do choreographies in there. It's fun.
Wonderful. So deeprootsdance.com, the Student Resource Center. If you're interested in classes, of course, there is the North Seattle area. If you can't make it, then I'm sure she has other options, or at least some resources for you.
Workshops. I can come to you.
Absolutely, you can. Oh man, workshops are the best. Little tastes of everybody.
Yeah.
So wonderful, Shane Moore. You've been absolutely fantastic. I've gotten food. I've gotten a wonderful company from a lovely pup over here. I've gotten wine. It's been the best.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Anything else you'd like to say, or at least give some advice to new or upcoming dancers, or dancers who've been around for a while? Or
oh boy,
the one thing that you want to put on the stamp on the world before you leave.
Stamp on the world. Take it seriously, but not too seriously. Having fun is always the most important part of the process. Don't be afraid to speak up. That means asking questions as well as stating your opinion. I think the more we communicate with each other, the more we learn and grow as a community. So participate.
Right on. Rock on. Wonderful. Thank you again. And we'll be doing another one next week, so keep tuned. All right. Bye-bye.